Sir Sadiq Khan. I promised I wouldn't call him that, because he's now reached yet another milestone of making London's roads more congested than any other city in Europe. Well done, Sadiq, I say.
Because it's so difficult to make a living driving around London.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I talk to London cabbies, I mean, they do less and less work, and they say that many of them are just kind of semi-retired because it's just not worth their while to come in every single day.
The LTNs, low traffic neighbourhoods. I mean, during the mayoralty, I always mentioned Park Lane, to put those cycle lanes in Park Lane when there's a perfectly good cycle lane in the park.
Remember when London was hailed as one of the safest major cities in the world? Those days are long gone. Under Sadiq Khan's watch, our streets have descended into chaos. But don't take our word for it. We've got the shocking statistics, the heartbreaking stories, and the expert analysis to show you just how bad things have become. The question is, are you prepared to face the harsh reality? In Sadiq Khan's London, which has become a safe haven for criminals, people have the impression that they are abandoned and unsafe. First and foremost, what are the steps that can be taken to retake our city? And second, how did we get here? Before we go any further, I would like to make a tiny request of you. If you find this content to be enjoyable, I would appreciate it if you would take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. A greater than 98% of you watch the videos without first registering for an account, despite the fact that it does not cost you anything. It has a significant impact on you and me. Do you mean that you click the button to subscribe? That is great. Thank you very much. At this point, let's go back to the video. Just picture this. The chaotic situation on Oxford Street, which is already crowded with tourists and shoppers, suddenly becomes even more chaotic. The young individuals break into an Apple store, steal iPhones and iPads, and then vanish into the crowd after they have completed their theft. This is not a scene from Luther or Line of Duty. Rather, it perfectly captures the harsh reality of Khan's London. To tell you the truth, the statistics are absolutely staggering. Every week, 1,000 people in London have their phones stolen, which is more than just a statistic. It is a representation of 1,000 people.
A bunch of young kids, 14 to 18-year-olds, I mean, young men, I suppose, basically terrorise one security guard. They run in, all the people in the shop run out because they're so frightened, and they run off into the rest of the shopping centre. Luckily, I think some of them have been arrested, but not all of them. But, you know, people are being terrorised when they're going shopping, for heaven's sake.
You know, just browsing around. You'd be terrified, and you could see at the end of the clip that the security guard is coming out. But, I mean, in fairness, what can one security guard...
who feel vulnerable and violated. Your mother has decided to cancel all of her credit cards in a state of panic. There are irreplaceable photographs of your friends' children that are being lost. When you answer a call on the tube, you are the one who is looking over your shoulder throughout the transaction. The fact that phones are not the only factor contributing to this wave of criminal activity is the most unfortunate aspect. All aspects of city life are being impacted by this cancer in many different ways. Imagine the well-known black taxis that are found in London. In the past, there were 20,000 of them, but now there are only 15,000 left. How come? The experience of driving in London has become a living nightmare due to the amount of traffic and safety issues that have arisen. Take it into consideration. These are not merely taxis. Rather, they are an imperative element that contributes to the identity of London. Every single one of them represents a skilled professional driver. And
also an awful lot of the public transport now isn't really fit for purpose. A lot of it is a lot older than it used to be, you know. Some of the tube lines now are sort of not fit for purpose anymore. They're crowded, they're overcrowded, you know, they've got technological problems.
It was just virtue signalling from our wretched, awful mayor. He just wants to bring everything to a gridlock, so we're all forced not to use cars. Right. But not everybody can use public transport. Well, there's that. There's also the safety aspect. If you're going out at night, you don't want to be walking around London's roads because so many of us do not feel safe.
The means of subsistence for a family and a piece of the character of our city. In addition to this, their reputation is deteriorating at a rate that is faster than that of Boris Johnson. Now, there are those who would argue that this is merely the price that must be paid for progress. This is Uber, and that is cycle lanes. However, let's not sugarcoat this. This is not progress. Rather, it is regression. The policies that Khan has implemented are suffocating our city to death, one misguided plan at a time. Is it possible for you to recall a time when London took pride in being one of the safest major cities in the world? On the morning of a Monday, those days appear to be as far away as a northern line that is operational. The elderly are terrified to leave their homes after dark. Women are now clenching their keys like weapons, and tourists are rethinking their plans to visit our once great capital city. All of these things are happening simultaneously. After analysing this crisis in great detail, it is clear that Khan's fingerprints can be found in every single place. His policy of being lenient toward criminals, his obsession with bike lanes at the expense of emergency vehicle access, and his apparent disregard for the predicament of small businesses all contribute to the perfect storm of urban decay that he has created. Let's take a moment to reflect on the people who have been left behind by this wave of criminal activity.
Well, that's another thing that he's created, hasn't he? He's created London as a much more dangerous city. I mean, the Labour Party talk all the time about safeguarding women and girls. Well, try telling that to women and girls that live in London. And there's 1,000 mobile phone thefts every single week now. I was a victim of it back in, I think it was October of last year.
Well, exactly so. He's not putting any particular effort into that. I mean, obviously, crime is my big thing, and I'm absolutely appalled by some of the measures and the lack of attention to crime.
Before we continue our investigation into Khan's role in this mess, mainly due to the fact that political point scoring and statistics are not the only factors under consideration. It recounts the experiences of real people living in London whose lives are being turned upside down by this new and dangerous reality. Can you remember the time when London was considered to be one of the most secure major cities in the world? As a result of the growing number of criminal acts and feelings of unease, those times appear to be a distant memory. The rule of Sadiq Khan over our nation's capital has resulted in a legacy of victims who have not been seen, and the stories of these victims are frequently obscured by cold statistics and political finger-pointing. When women and girls were once able to take advantage of London's thriving nightlife and cultural offerings, they now find themselves at the other end of the spectrum of this new reality. The expression of fear is especially noticeable after the sun has set. A young woman encapsulated the essence of the situation by saying, "I used to love exploring the city at night," saying that she used to enjoy doing so. In this day and age, I'm constantly looking over my shoulder and holding keys in my hand like they are a weapon. Not only is it about the sensation of being in danger, but it is also about the gradual removal of a fundamental liberty which occurs night after night. Khan's London, on the other hand, has far-reaching consequences that extend far beyond the safety of those individuals. Now, policies that have not been given sufficient consideration are stifling our emergency services, which are the very individuals on whom we rely to keep us safe and secure. Paramedics and firefighters are becoming increasingly entangled in a labyrinth of poorly designed bike lanes and low traffic areas as they are running out of time to reach people who are in critical need of assistance. When there is an emergency, every second counts, but these plans, which are well-intentioned but misguided, are putting people's lives in danger. Imagine a situation in which an ambulance is trying to navigate a maze of narrow lanes and streets that are blocked off while sirens are sounding. For example, a fire engine that is delayed because of traffic jams caused by the fact that there are fewer major roads. These are not hypothetical scenarios. When it comes to Khan's London, each and every one of them is all too typical. In certain instances, the very infrastructure that was designed to make our city more livable is actually making it riskier to live in for some people. As the amount of evidence increases and the number of stories of annoyance and anxiety increases, there is one question that will inevitably come up. Where is Sadiq Khan in all of this? While Londoners struggle with the day-to-day realities of a city that feels more unsafe and dysfunctional, the mayor appears to be more focused on photo ops and Twitter feuds than he is on addressing the fundamental problems that are affecting his constituents. It is a sad irony that many of Khan's policies were implemented with the best of intentions, but they were still implemented. There are many admirable goals, including the creation of areas that are more pedestrian-friendly, the encouragement of cycling, and the improvement of air quality. The question that we need to ask ourselves, however, is when they put essential safety and response times for emergencies at risk. At what point does the treatment become unfavourable to the disease? We are on the verge of London either becoming a city that is rife with criminal activity or regaining its reputation as a city that is both bustling and safe. It is not just the responsibility of politicians to find a solution to this crisis. It is the responsibility of every Londoner who has had enough of this new normal. Time has come to look for solutions beyond the borders of our country. As evidenced by cities such as New York and Los Angeles, community policing and increased funding for law enforcement have the potential to significantly reduce the rates of criminal activity. That London is unable to do the same is a mystery. Local elections are coming up, and Londoners have a fantastic opportunity to make their voices heard in the upcoming elections. Voting is not enough. We also need to demand that our leaders make significant changes and hold them accountable for their actions. It is imperative that our leadership places the utmost importance on the health and safety of all of our citizens, not just those who tweet the most than anyone else. Our duty is to tip the scales in favour of London's future, and we are responsible for doing so. If we choose to accept a city that is engulfed in terror, will we fight for the London that we know and love, or will we accept it? We are permitted to choose.